since February, the San Francisco 49ers play a football game. Might not be a real one, but I think it's January. Messed that up. Starting hot here on the Straight Right Option Podcast, starting now.
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners. Straight Right Option Podcast. We'll fix it in post, not like we're live anything. This is a new episode of the Straight Right Option Podcast. I am Andrew Pasquini, joined as always by Jason Aponte. And I think, Jason, starting the preseason off hot, we are doing the earliest podcast stream we have ever done, 11 a.m. on the West Coast. I don't think we have much room to go much earlier than we have. I think it's the earliest by like an hour, but this is the earliest we've gone. 49ers play a football game today. First time since January. But first, Jason, most important question on my mind. How are you doing, friend?
I'm great. I mean, preseason's about reps. Preseason's about getting it right. And Andrew and I are rounding back into form. But I have to say, and this is literally what I was just telling you offline, I never realized how much NFL football gives me structure and discipline, right? Feel like my life is in chaos when there's not any real 49ers stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
And now we're locked in. And we made it. It's been an interesting offseason. We've said a lot of crazy things to each other. Crazy things have happened.
Yeah.
But look at us on August 13th. We made it. And we have a football game to actually talk about.
It's so funny because we spend so much of the offseason, like, and you and I talk about it behind the scenes, how much we dread to just talk about some of the content that's out there. And it gets to a point sometimes where it's like, do I really want to keep doing this? Because this is a lot. I woke up this morning. I'm ready. I'm locked in. I'm ready to go talk 49ers football. First real game, as we said, it's as real as a game can get right now, right? It's the first week of the preseason. It's not like we're going to, I mean, I guess we are. We're going to judge the season based off of this one preseason game. That's just the nature of the beast. We're coming on live after this, and we're deciding if the 49ers are winning the Super Bowl or not based off of how all the second stringers do.
And if Trey Lance doesn't go 12 for 12, then trade him for a 6th-round pick and just get him out of here at this point.
Honestly, hey, man, it's just that's the nature of the beast. But no, listen, there's real football to talk about. JKBG, we love you. Calling these boys Straubenheimer because they're dropping 2 bombs a day. We appreciate you so much, JKBG. Yeah, man, I think obviously the place we're going to start, we're going to cover a little bit of day 2 of camp. The last time we talked was Niners Raiders day 1 of camp. But we had some interception issues. I guess that's where we'll start. It sounds like the Niners threw 1 million interceptions on Friday, right? Is that the case, Jason? I know the media was struggling to see because the Raiders, I made the joke on the 49K podcast. I was on it with Steph. I made the joke that I have a better view of the Raiders practice facility from my apartment in Sacramento than some of the media does in Vegas. But I heard the Niners practice wasn't ideal on Friday, but it's nice we could throw it away because it's practice and there's a game today, right?
Yeah, man, I feel like I come off as like a buzzkill, a wet blanket, whatever it is, because I'm just like, I don't care about training camp numbers. I don't care about it. It's a good conversation starter, 100%. Mm-hmm. But I love what Trent Williams said when asked about the interceptions. I don't know. I don't even remember. He goes, this is the first time I remember ever being asked about it. Look, I'm not always subscribed to, well, he plays for the team. He knows more than you, or he's played football. He knows. I don't always, but I'm going to defer to him on this one.
Yeah.
If Trent doesn't care, then I don't care. And also, the time to try things and to test the limits of what you can do is during practice. It's during practice. It's not, you're not supposed to be conservative in practice. And there's really a lot of, like, you have to really test the defense, right? Okay, this is the look they're showing me. This is the play we're running. I have a certain amount of time before, this defender gets over. It's not a big deal. It really is not a big deal at all. And it all should just be one piece of the evaluation puzzle, but it shouldn't be 95% of how you perceive how a quarterback is going to be going into the season, right? It's a piece of it. It's probably about 15%. Preseason games is part of it. But again, the numbers don't reflect the process, and you don't get the proper context of the numbers. I have a tough time. I have a tough time worrying about things like that. And I also have a tough time giving a strong opinion on something that I didn't see with my own eyes, regardless of who reported it.
Yeah, and that's why we have somewhat of, we haven't gone live as much as usual for camp because we both weren't there. So we can't tell you exactly what these interceptions look like. And that's why I haven't been too concerned about it, because if we're just talking sheer numbers, like, sure, man, in a vacuum, is it concerning? I guess, but I've always erred on the side of, man, it's practice. It's practice. I would like to see my quarterbacks taking a little bit more risks than usual. As I said, I don't know if that's the case with the interceptions thrown. They could have all been interceptions right to the linebacker's hands, and we, but in my mind, you got to throw them away just because it is practice. I mean, this is a fan base set. I know a lot of people like to bring it up when the interceptions are mentioned in terms of practice, but Jimmy Garoppolo had a 5 interception practice, the first day of camp, the Super Bowl year. And
Patrick Mahomes threw 4 consecutive interceptions. Like, who cares?
It's almost as if none of this matters. I mean, what I'm concerned about, and we'll talk about it a little bit here in a minute with this preseason stuff, like a lot of people are going to be talking about Trey Lance. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be talking about Sam Darnold. And I think the easiest thing to do is just talk the numbers and all that stuff. But I want to see how they look. That's what my big notes are going to be after the game is, yeah, sure, Trey Lance might have gone bad percentage completion, an interception, but I saw this in his process. I saw this throw looked good. The interception, this, and this. Like, I don't necessarily care. And I'm using Lance because he's the starter. I'm not saying I think he's going to have a bad game. I'm just saying it as an example of, it's fully possible where I watch this game and Lance, the results might not be there, but you could see something and say, oh, well, he did look good in this sense, And I think that's what we need to focus on more than the numbers, and less about, or excuse me, less about the numbers, more about what you see in the eye test, because that's a lot what Kyle Shanahan's judging off of, right? Like, that's what the front office is judging off of. Do you think Kyle Shanahan has once cared about these stats that have been tweeted out? Probably not. He's probably watching the film. He's doing what a head coach does, things like that. So I'm excited to see what this looks like on the field for the first time, and I'm absolutely excited to overreact to all of it.
The process is the part, right? You can literally throw a touchdown and have bad process. You can have the perfect process, do everything right, and have an incompletion or an interception. I think that's the part that is being missed so much with just, well, did you complete the pass? A completed pass doesn't mean good process or good placement in any way. You can throw a perfect pass and it'll bounce off of a guy's shoulder pads and end up in a defender's hands. And I think, again, the people that are using these numbers to prop things up haven't watched any of it. They don't know the process itself, or they're taking the word of somebody who they trust or is, perpetuating their narrative. But there's a way where Trey Lance throws a touchdown and you say, man, you know what? That was poor process. You weren't looking at the right thing. And I think that's what Kyle Shanahan gets mad at. There's times where things don't go right all the time. But if you do things the right way, then I think that's what he cares about more. For example, I don't want, and obviously Jimmy Garoppolo is on the team that the 49ers are opposing today, that he's not going to play today. But, I think back to the Pittsburgh game in 2019, where he throws the game-winning touchdown to Dante Pettis, but it's poor process. It's in a cover 2. You're not supposed to be able to bang that throw in there. And it's not that it was special. It was just that Pettis came back to the ball and Jimmy put enough zip on it. But if you go through that, you realize that's not where you want to go with the football. Now, the result was a game-winning touchdown. Was the process good? No. And again, I think there's a give and take, especially during the season, on game day, because it's results. Get it done, right?
Yes.
Like, you have to get it done. But you do want to see from Trey Lance, who incrementally needs to show steps and continue to grow. You do want to see that process get better and better, because that's much more important than any statistical output.
Yeah, and I guess the best way to put it, simplify a little bit what Jason said, because not everybody watches the tape like Jason Aponte and understands the process. Trust your eyes today. Don't like obviously use the statistics, use the numbers as a little bit of context of what your eyes saw, but vibes, man. Vibes is what it's about today. What do you feel when you're watching these players? Because that's simply what it's going to come down to. And listen, my big takeaway, especially because obviously everybody wants to talk about the quarterback situation, is that's what this is about. Because in a vacuum, I think 10 out of 10 people in this chat would say they'd rather have Trey Lance over Sam Darnold, right? BNA Briggs point, Brock Kittle touchdown where he missed the slant. Yes, exactly. JKBG didn't Purdy bail on a clean pocket against Vegas with Juwan wide open, made it harder himself. Touchdown to Kittle happened, but the process didn't have to be that hard. So things like that, exactly. But in a vacuum, I think 10 out of 10 people in this chat would say Trey Lance is a better quarterback than Sam Darnold. Maybe 9 out of 10. I can't say 100%. But ultimately, what it's going to come down to is who Kyle Shanahan trusts more, right? And that's what it's always come down to. I made this example a couple weeks ago. I'll continue to make it. Is Matt Breida, right? The case of Matt Breida. He was the Niners' number 1 running back the Super Bowl year, had some fumble issues. That trust was gone. He was gone. And I'm not saying Trey Lance is the same sort of thing, but I feel like there's this thing right now where Trey Lance is fighting for quarterback 2. We're talking about these numbers, and it feels like Trey Lance is putting on some pretty impressive performances in camps. BNA, I'd rather have Samuel Adams than Sam Darnold.
Good mother choice.
That's a good start. Nice.
I'd rather have Samuel Jackson than Samuel Adams, if you ask me.
Hey man, I don't have a Sam off the top of my head.
That's it.
I'm not quite.
He gets it.
Chappelle. Oh, I got
Chappelle,
it.
Yeah. Good mother choice.
Wayne Brady's been in the news, so I got to rewatch that Wayne Brady skit on Chappelle Show. Just off topic, but back to the point of ultimately what it comes down to is who Kyle Shanahan's more comfortable with. That's why Sam Darnold's hanging around in this quarterback 2 talk. So I guess the long story short is trust your eyes today. Don't necessarily worry about the numbers. If you feel like Trey Lance had a better performance today than Sam Darnold, but the numbers say otherwise, trust yourself. That's just what it is. So that's where I'm at with the quarterback situation right now. I'm very interested to see. Do you think Brandon Allen gets a snap today? Because the way it sounds like it's Lance is getting the first half, Darnold's getting the second half. I don't see where Brandon Allen fits.
Yeah, I think Brandon Allen gets snaps when the 49ers finish this game 47-0. Oh, did I just give my prediction?
We doing predictions today? My bad. The other news that came out of camp on Friday is the Niners' first string offense did not look great against the Raiders. They gave up a few touchdowns. Jimmy Garoppolo, the ultimate in a Jason, you've been watching the new Spider-Man movie a lot. Multiverses are hot in the streets right now, and somewhere in the world there's a multiverse. One 2023, Kyle Shanahan's drawing up a Jimmy Garoppolo touchdown to Austin Hooper. The Niners were a victim of that on Friday. Jason, I'm going to ask you this question, but I have a feeling your answer is going to be along the lines of the same thing we just talked about. Is there concerns about the Niners' first string defense after Friday, since we're talking camp?
No, come on, man. What are we doing? Oh, my God. Nick Bosa's not even around. Guys, please. I mean, I'm not talking to the people that watch our shows because I generally love to believe that the people that enjoy our content are level-headed and just know that this is just practice. And you know what? Maybe Jimmy Garoppolo's a stud. No, I'm just kidding. All right. I don't want to get you guys all riled up or anything like that. But no, absolutely not worried, man, at all. Right now, again, the same thing. They're trying to figure things out. Steve Wilkes is trying to figure out where everything goes. Nick Bosa's not there. Come on, man, please. Don't, please. And Matthew, how many bets you got in this game today? No comment, because then you guys are going to send me that gambling number that I need to call because it's just not it's not conducive to good decision making at all at this point.
Jason, do you obviously sarcastic about the Niners' defensive issues on Friday? Do you have any last notes that I might have missed? Because I felt like Friday's practice, a lot of the talk was just the interceptions and the defense. Do you have any notes before we kind of move on to a little bit of a preview of today's game?
No, not really. I mean, look, when you hear Davante Adams is catching passes, it's okay. Davante Adams is somebody who's actually good at football. It's okay. No matter how good your defense is, there's always going to be plays like that. Again, there is a little bit of just, getting in order. All this stuff right now is good conversation pieces. It's good ways to start conversation. as long as it's provided with the proper context and with a little bit of a level head. Like it can't be all of those things. There's guys who practice well and play like shit on Sunday. There's guys who practice like shit and ball on Sundays. And I think all of that, again, all of these numbers, everything right now is good conversation pieces, but it also is one part of the evaluation process, but it's not the biggest part. If week 3 we come around and the 49ers are 3-0, you think we're going to remember what happened in camp and what were the numbers? Like, no, man. Like right now, we are just a fan base that is starved for content, starved to talk about football, which, completely understand, but at the same time, man, it really should just be right now about getting into the swing of things. The most important thing of all of this is, you hear that Kittle has the adductor strain, just get better. Greenlaw left the practice, just get better. Like all of this, all of these stats, everything, it shouldn't supersede the team just coming out healthy. And that's all that really matters at this point, is just being healthy. And that's what the focus of this game should be as well, too, is to just get everybody in, evaluate them on tape, playing fast in games and just getting out healthy. That's it. I want to see Jair Brown because I want to see him play against live competition. I have a feeling that he's been holding back because he doesn't want to hit people, and that's not the way that you really go about things during training camp. Otherwise, Big Bad Kyle's going to stop everything. I want to see him hit somebody. I want to see him play a little bit faster. I want to see Javon Kinlaw for a little while. I want to see Colton McKivitz for a bit if he can get out there, just because he's the only question mark. I want to see what the third linebacker in base defense is going to look like. I want to see TDP. I'm super excited to see what he's got going on. But again, all of this stuff is one part of the evaluation process. It's not the end all be all, and it's not the biggest thing. It's just one piece of it.
Exactly. I think we're going to talk about a lot of what you just kind of teased there here in a minute. I just wrote a list of names down, the players I'm excited to watch today. So we'll get to that. So let's transition officially. 49ers football game today. They play the Las Vegas Raiders, 1 p.m. I don't know what channel it's on. NFL Network, I know for you, Jason. I don't know what the local station is for those of us in California. But it's the first time. The big news, obviously, we touched on it a little bit, so we'll touch on it a little bit here in the context of the game. Kyle Shanahan announced on Friday, I believe it was, that Trey Lance is starting for the 49ers today. He's going to get the first half snaps. Sam Darnold's going to get the second half snaps. I don't think I'm surprised by it. I know last week I said I wouldn't be surprised if Darnold gets the start. He plays the first quarter, and
now it's football season.
Don Burr is back. I'm sorry, we got to stop. Don Burr is here. We love Don Burr. How wild is it that you're seeing these NFL predictions and the Detroit Lions are firmly like
the sexiest pick,
the fourth best team in the NFC, like safest, maybe even the third, depends how you view on the Cowboys. Don Burr's here. I'm excited. We're officially back. We're here to talk Lions.
We're all Lions fans on opening night on Thursday.
Podcast now. Jared Goff, is he a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo? Just going to rehash the conversation.
Look, Jahmyr Gibbs, I bought your stock. I was able to get you in some dynasty leagues as well too. I love that for the Lions. Don, I also want to tell you, I bought the Bobby Peters Lions book, and I had a blast going through their offense. There's so many cool concepts in there that they brought over from the Rams that were good for Jared Goff, that were conducive to him succeeding. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. Your offense is awesome, and it's fun as hell to watch, man. Like, honestly, man, like you guys are – we literally had this conversation about baseball. It's like the Yankees suck, but you know what's worse than being bad at baseball is being boring. You can be bad at baseball and be fun. You know what? The Lions were actually good at football and fun to watch. And that's way more important, I feel, than anything. I do not want to watch any sort of boring sport. The Yankees are bad and boring. The Lions are fun as hell, and their offense is fun as hell to run. So, yeah, there you go. We had to just get in there for
shout out. We also have to legally mention Penei Sewell. I'm a big Penei Sewell guy.
What is it? Kayvon Thibodeau beat him for a sack?
Rough video to see Kayvon Thibodeau beating him on a sack. Big Penei Sewell guy. So
that had to be trolling, right?
No, it came from a Giants account.
No, that had to be trolling.
Probably. Yeah. But that's enough Lions talk. Jason, Trey Lance getting the start today. I know we touched on it a little bit. What are you looking to see out of Trey Lance today? Just to kind of make you feel comfortable with where he is, because this is the first time we've seen him since the Seattle game last year. Obviously, we know what happened with that. We don't need to revisit that. He's healthy now. That's all that matters. What are you looking to see from the third-year quarterback?
Right now, I just want to see. Oh my God, Twitter's going crazy right now. This is how you know it's football season. I'm getting
Yeah.
memed left and right or whatever.
Uh,
I just want to see comfortability. And you said comfortable. That was the word I wanted to use. I want to see comfortability. I want to see
yeah.
you hit the top of your drop. I want to see you go through your progressions. I want to see that ball come out when it's supposed to come out. I want to see you have a control on the offense. I want to see you understanding what the defense is giving you. I want to see a little bit more of that process. Again, the stats mean little, but I do want to see that progression in your mindset, what you're seeing, how fast you're processing, and where you're going with the football when you need to. Anybody can check it down and immediately take the completion. Sure, that's fine, but that's not going to get you down the field once defenses clamp down on that. I think it's important to see Trey, see it in all three levels of the field, look at one and then go on the other and know exactly where to go with the football. I think that is far more important. That's what I'll be watching for. And I want to see a guy who's comfortable in the pocket and is operating this offense. And as Jesse says, I just hope Trey Lance has fun.
I hope he does too, but I'll go a little different. I want to see the tools. I want to see the weapons that Trey Lance has, because to me, you saw a lot of throws, and I know this is going back to North Dakota State. You saw a lot of throws there that were just on the money. The throw that I'll never forget, like no matter what happens in the Trey Lance situation, is the throw to Deebo Samuel against the Texans a couple years ago, the 40-yard throw that never left the TV screen. Throws like that, I want to see it, because that's what I don't want to say that's what we were promised from Trey Lance, but that's why the Niners drafted him, was those big time throws, and I want to see a couple of those today, because that's what I felt like the big upside from Trey Lance was. Over when we go back to the conversation of Jimmy Garoppolo versus Trey Lance, was Trey Lance has that explosive play ability that Jimmy Garoppolo didn't quite have. Jimmy Garoppolo had the chances, the opportunities to do so, where Trey Lance felt like, not a promise, but you one thing people talked about was, well, if Jimmy Garoppolo can do this with the 49ers offense, imagine what you can do with a guy who's as explosive what Trey Lance can be. I'm not saying all the players are going to be explosive, but I want to see Trey Lance take some chances. I want to see some big throws. I want to see that stuff. So that's what I want to see from him. I'm excited. Jesse, I'm concerned Kyle won't call plays to help Trey out. I've seen that conversation.
It's a good conversation.
I've also seen the other side of it, where I'll throw this one too. It's a showcase to other teams for a potential trade. Jesse, here's why I don't see that happening. I think Kyle Shanahan wants to figure out this quarterback situation. I think that's what the number one. I think the situation's solved, at least at the top, where it's Brock Purdy. But I think Jason mentioned it. The last time we've seen a Niners quarterback go full 16, or I guess 17 games now, was Jimmy Garoppolo in 2019. Before that, it was Colin Kaepernick in 2014. This is a franchise that's had issues keeping quarterbacks healthy. I think Kyle Shanahan's going to want to put Trey Lance in a spot to succeed today, because I think he wants to feel comfortable with his backup quarterback just in case, because he hasn't had much luck with that. So I don't think this is going to be a concern. Jason, I'm interested to see what your thought is on this.
Conversely, I will say this. What if Kyle Shanahan wants him to work on certain things in game situations that maybe he hasn't necessarily done well with in training camp, right? Like everything that we think we see, right? When we pop on the tape and we look and we see a guy running wide open, we're like, deep down the field, we're like, damn, why doesn't he throw the ball there? But then you see the ball go somewhere else. Well, what if that's not what Kyle's telling him? Like, what if Kyle is telling him to operate the offense within what he's seeing on the field, and a guy breaks open later on, but he's already kind of put it out there? And that's kind of the conversation we've had with Jimmy Garoppolo while he was here. Yep. How much was Kyle Shanahan dictating where the ball needs to go and telling where the ball needs to go? I think it's a little bit interesting, Jesse, and this is the reason that I brought this up, because, this is a great comment. I think there is a world where he feels Trey needs to refine his process a little bit more with things that he hasn't necessarily done well. I don't think you really have to worry about him necessarily in, back to under center type things like that, anything like that. I think he wants to see what you can do when there's actual competition on the other side, and you also need to work on this, and why not work on it during the preseason? Look, Kyle's going to give him plays in the layups because they're always there. The layups are always there because guys are running wide open, and that's kind of always been the crux of the argument around the 49ers quarterback situation, in which it'll continue to be, is no matter who the quarterback is, guys are going to be wide open. It doesn't matter if it's Brock, it's Jimmy, it's Trey, it's Hoyer, it's Mullins. There's always guys wide open. Now, who's going to hit those throws? And obviously, Purdy did a better job than anybody did in those 8 games. But I do think there's a little bit of maybe Kyle wants to see, okay, pressure's on. You've got actual pass rushers trying to win jobs coming at you. I want to see how you react. And I think that's a good way to really put it. In my opinion, I think it'll be a give and take when it comes to this, Jesse. There's going to be the plays that he knows Trey can execute, that he knows that he's very good at, whether they be, RPOs, quick throws, things like that. But there should be some plays that he throws in there to help him in game situations against actual competition figure things out. So I do think it's a give and take, but I do think this is a very interesting conversation. It's not as black and white as people want to make it seem when it comes to, well, Kyle never calls anything for Trey, or I think it's a little bit of like, it's gray. It's in the middle right there where it's like Kyle knows what he works with and he knows what he works well with, but also I need to see you get better at certain things in game situations. And what better time than the preseason when there's guys fighting for their football lives, even if they're going to be ending up playing, at working at your local, like Chevron, like, later on, like it's still a give and take, and I do think that that's the interesting part of all this.
I'm going to get a last question on the quarterback before we move on to other quarterback or position battle. Quarterbacks on the mind, other position battles. And this might be the evergreen question for the preseason, Jason. We'll call it the quarterback heat check chart. I don't know what's Axel, I love you.
Axel, low key, I don't need wide leak because there's no quarterback that can hit it, and I don't need to hear Rich Madrid going crazy in our group chat.
The last question I got about the quarterbacks, Jason, and this will be our segment to end the quarterback talk for every preseason preview for now, is I'll call it the quarterback heat check chart. As of this second right now, before we're seeing the preseason game 1, what is your 49ers quarterback week 1 of the regular season depth chart? So as of this second, if week 1 starts tomorrow, what in your brain is the depth chart of the 49ers quarterback?
Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, and Sam Darnold.
Okay. Is that just because you're going off of what you know? What gives you Trey Lance over Darnold?
If you listen to certain people would imply that Trey Lance has been absolutely awful. But the people that I tend to lean to, the people that I speak to off the record who have been in practices and I call them and I pick their brain a little bit more, they will tell you that they've seen incremental improvement from Trey Lance. Mm-hmm. And I still think, again, the dynamic of what Trey brings with everything, his legs, what they'll be able to do. I think the running game with Christian McCaffrey and him will be much more potent if he was ever to be on the field. Obviously, Brock Purdy's a starter. I'm not talking about that as well. But it's so crazy how if you listen to certain people, they would have you believe that Trey Lance is just throwing Tim Tebow balls everywhere. And sure, look, there's missed layups, there's missed throws. Cool. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that I speak to that have a lot of good things to say about his process, about how comfortable he looks, about how he's a little bit more confident. And I think that's what I'm kind of holding on to. And, by the way, look, the reason the 49ers are not going to trade Trey Lance is because you're not going to get anything. Mm-hmm. And with the way that this team loses quarterbacks, why would you get quarterbacks out of this room when last year all we were asking is, like, why can't you add? Like, for God's sakes, last year, Andrew, for God's sakes, I got on here and said, why won't the 49ers put in a waiver claim for Baker fucking Mayfield? Baker Mayfield. And you know what? The reason I did that is because you needed bodies. You needed guys who have played NFL football games. So for me, the idea of getting rid of Trey Lance for like whatever you can get, like you have to get away from him right now. Oh, I've got to get a 5th round pick for Trey Lance. No. Look, his 5th-year option is probably not going to be picked up. You can make that decision and kick the can down the road. As of this point, it would be foolish and arrogant, to be honest, by the 49ers take away quarterbacks from this room that you absolutely needed, as long as you did last year. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's Trey. I think it's still going to be there. But I do think that it's kind of nonsensical for people to say, man, he's out of here. They're just like showcasing him to trade him. Yeah. Why? Are you cool with Sam Darnold and Brandon Allen? Because I still would love to see what Trey Lance has. The only way that you trade Trey Lance is if someone overpays and wows you. And I don't think, unfortunately, because you haven't seen anything on the field, that's a possibility at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm at the same place. I think that right now the order is Purdy, Lance, Darnold. If week 1 were to start tomorrow, I like to believe that pure talent is going to win out here. I really do think Jesse saw an alternate reality. Baker Mayfield took over in the NFC Championship game.
The reality I want to live in is that Phillip Rivers can't come.
I was going to say that I would much rather live in the Phillip Rivers alternate universe because that one just feels so much.
He
more
gets
fun.
His ring. He plays in one game as a Niner. You retire 17. Like beats Patrick Mahomes.
Oh
yes.
Yes, you got to retire 17.
He has 3 more kids somehow after. Like as soon as he gets home, like
name them Kyle, John, and Parag.
That's all I want to live. I want to live in the Phillip Rivers multiverse. That's the multiverse I want to live in.
Yeah, no, that would it's True Spirit Red Option Podcast just breaking off into a conversation. If Phillip Rivers wins the Super Bowl and has a decent game, that has to be like the greatest single Super Bowl performance of all time. Like your first 2 weeks with a team and you go in there, throw for like, let's say 250 and 2 touchdowns. I think that would have to be an all-time. Kyle, the reality I want to live in is the one where Richie James throws himself the winning. No, what about Blaine Gabbert? We could live in a universe where Blaine Gabbert
just threw a touchdown to Richie
James. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We could have that, and that's just like the Jimmy Garoppolo to Austin Hooper universe. We could have the Blaine Gabbert,
But everybody wants to crown Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid the Super Bowl heroes. Jerick McKinnon is your Super Bowl hero for sliding at the 1. He could have ran that. He could have punched that thing in and won the whole thing.
Former 49ers all over the league succeeding. We love to see it. Jason,
I hate it.
Hey, Jason, I think that's enough of quarterback talk. We've got 30 minutes straight quarterbacks. Let's talk a little. I'm just going to start listing some position battles I'm interested in. You could throw 1 or 2 in, and then I'm just going to start naming names of players I'm excited to watch today. Is that cool with you?
Love it.
The first one, because this battle kind of became a little more important, Ray McLeod is out 2 months, broken wrist. Maybe the best. I was talking to Steph about this. The best 49ers returner since Ted Ginn or Allen. Remember when Allen Rosum all time. Hey, he used to be a Niner guy. Niners used to have some decent return men. Ray McLeod took all the returns last year. Now it's wide open. Willie Snead, Danny Gray, Ronnie Bell, Deshaun Jameson, all in the battle. I'm excited to see this kick return battle because I think it creates a very interesting because a roster spot might open for somebody. I mean, if Ray McLeod's healthy, like Deshaun Jameson, is he making the 53-man? Maybe, maybe not. But now that this is wide open, he has a chance to get in there. Ronnie Bell, this might be his way to make the 53-man roster. So I'm excited to see what the kick return battle looks. I think Danny Gray's an interesting one. The Niners gave him some chances. We'll see what it looks like. So what are your thoughts on the return battle real quick?
I think Deshaun Jameson's the one who's going to run away with this thing. I mean, he has the most experience, and he's done pretty well. I think he's going to make the 53 now. I think Chris Conley is going to make this team now as well, too. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously he doesn't have any kick return chops, but the debate is 5 or 6 wide receivers. And I'm starting to lean towards 6 a little bit, right? Debo, Ayuk, Jennings. Now, Ray is going to be – well, you know what? They could keep 5 now. So Ray is going to be someone who is on IR because he can't go on PUP. That's something that's before – things start. So Deshaun Jameson makes it, and I think Chris Conley makes it because he has the receiving chops and he actually can run block. So I think that if they go 5, then those are your 5. If they go 6, then there's a chance that Ronnie Bell makes it. I think Willie Snead is just going to be on the practice squad. I don't think anybody's really jumping at the chance to bring back Willie Snead or poach him off the team. They would have a tough time. They would have a tougher time keeping Ronnie Bell on the practice squad than they would Willie Snead. So I think it's Deshaun Jameson, though. I think that's who I'm going to be looking at for kick return. That's who I'm looking at.
The linebacker battle. The 49ers have a spot open for the third linebacker, Aziz Al-Shaair. Maximilian, shout out. Huge fan here from Austria. That's pretty cool. We appreciate the, dare I say, Jason Aponte, Mr. Worldwide. So here we are.
Isn't that Pitbull's name?
Yes, it is, but it's
so then it's not me,
Mr. I mean, I'm changing. I'm
Mr. 305.
Just like how Joe Burrow took Joe Cool from Joe Montana. Oh, Ooh, is that
Well,
something I shouldn't say on this podcast?
He took Joe Cool low key from Snoopy, but
That's fair too. That's fair too. The linebacker, third linebacker battle. Oren Oren Burks. There we
Burks.
go. I know the players who play on the 49ers. Jalen Graham, D. Winters, Marcelino McCrary Ball, and DFF Hive stand up, all battling for one spot. It sounds like Oren Burks has the inside advantage right now, but McCrary Ball's been doing some stuff at camp. I really could see a situation where really any five of these guys step in because it is such a rotational piece of the defense. But there's a reason we talk about Azeez Al-Shaair's loss being so important, where, in case any of the first two linebackers go down, or even those situations where they do run three linebackers, this is one of those sneaky position battles that people are talking about it because it is one of the position battles. It is one of those position battles where we might lose a little sense of it during the regular season because the Niners run two linebackers so much. But this has a chance to be something that could come up later in the season, being like, hey, man, Oren Burks has stepped into this role, or McCrary Ball is becoming what people thought he would. So things like that. So I'm excited to see what the third linebacker battle is going to look like today.
100%. And Oren Burks seems to have the inside track because obviously he's a special teams contributor. But when he was pressed into duty, especially like in the Atlanta game that I can remember off the top of my head, he was very solid, and he's a solid pro. Now, having said that, I don't want to again be the wet blanket, but the whole idea of the third linebacker and base defense, we've talked about it, Andrew. It's just it's not a thing that is really going on in this wave of the offense that comes in from the league. Everybody's trying to spread you out. You've got to have a nickel on the field more than anything. You have to have a nickel who can double as a linebacker and cover. Luckily for the 49ers, they don't really have that issue. They can get caught sometimes in base with a slot receiver, but they're good because the other two guys are converted safeties, and they're pretty good at carrying not only just slot receivers, probably the best in the game in certain spots, as long as the defense on the other side does a job like at certain points. So the whole third linebacker thing, the whole base idea is something that you should definitely look for. But again, like the more and more that offenses progress, the more and more that offenses find ways to nitpick matchups and grab advantageous matchups, it's going to lean away from you having a third linebacker on the field because you already have essentially two safeties that play linebacker, bring you a nickel on. That nickel would have to double as like an outside linebacker, somebody who can get their head dirty and in the run game like Jimmy Ward. So in that case, it would be Isaiah Oliver. But it is interesting to see that Oren Burks has kind of gone from a special teams guy to a straight up like, hey, man, he's the third guy. And then there's Marcelino McCrary Ball, who, the 49ers seem to be very high on. They will not let him go. And D. Winters has been making plays as well, too, who seems to double as a Dre Greenlaw replacement. Not a replacement, but just like he's doing his best Dre Greenlaw impression in terms of playing very fast and being somebody who's always around the ball. So it's going to be interesting to watch this, but I do think that Oren Burks has a little bit of an inside track, not only because of his special teams prowess, but because he's actually pretty good, like when he's been called on. And I think that's something that we're kind of losing a little bit of sight of.
Yeah, you make that point because you remember last offseason, the 49ers had a lot of special team spots they needed to fill, and the two names that really came up, two names they signed was Burks and George Odom. So to see Burks kind of make this, I don't want to call it a turnaround because it's not a turnaround, but for the Niners to bring him in for a sake of, hey, we need special teams help, but now he's in talks for a third linebacker, like that right there is a value signing, in my opinion, that he has that flexibility to kind of step into this role. The other one where we're going to get specifically into names, and we've talked about this a lot because it is something that we like running backs on this podcast. That second running back spot wide open right now. I like to think Elijah Mitchell is the running back too, but with all these with the injury concerns, he's out today. I don't think he's playing. I haven't seen anything. I don't think he's playing.
No.
Tyrion Davis-Price and Jordan Mason are the two. And Tyrion Davis-Price, as I said last time we talked, Jason, is having his Jordan Mason camp where a lot of people are noticing him. Jason, you wrote an article the other day for Niners Nation talking about the importance of this running back situation. And you talked about it here. The importance of them in the passing game, just so they don't have a situation where McCaffrey's off the field and they're bringing in, Tyrion Davis-Price and saying, oh, well, it's a run play because he can't catch the ball. I'm excited to see this because we've talked about it. The very first bit that Sprint Right Option podcast had was my dad can get 3 yards per carry in a 49ers offense.
I still believe he can.
Game Kyle Shanahan, I still believe he can.
He just has to follow his keys.
So if there's a situation where any of these running backs can succeed, it's this one. I know Tyrion Davis-Price had a lot of, I think it was, I did the math. He had 41% of his carries last season in week 2. And then he was inactive a lot. He didn't play a lot. To see the hype he's getting is very exciting, just knowing what Kyle Shanahan can do with this offense. So what are you looking for out of the running backs today?
I think a little bit more to your point about like being unpredictable on the field is not that TDP necessarily means that when he's on the field, it's a run. You kind of just eliminate the fact that he's a receiving option.
Yes.
And I think that's really kind of where Christian McCaffrey's skill set benefits not only the quarterbacks, but Kyle Shanahan, because now you can diagram all of these routes down the field. And if not, you can always dump it off to your all-world running back, and he can, make something out of nothing as well, too. And Anthony Lynn is your biggest cue for this, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like I've said this like 10 times, but I'll reiterate it for anybody that's new here. By the way, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell for when we go live, and find the Sprint Right option wherever you get your audio podcast. Is Anthony Lynn last season talked about every single running back on the roster aside from Trey Sermon. And Trey Sermon was the one that ended up leaving. This year, when he was asked, he talked glowingly about Jordan Mason, about Tyrion Davis-Price, but he left Elijah Mitchell out of it. How much of that has to do with injury? Am I reaching? Probably. I'm just going off of the things that have happened last year. But when you listen to them talk about wanting to be flexible, it keeps Kyle Shanahan flexible in terms of how he can call plays. He's not pigeonholed in any way. Jordan Mason is running routes outside now as a receiver. All of these guys understand that you need to pick it up a little bit more. You don't have to be Christian McCaffrey, but the threat alone of being able to throw the ball to the running back and then make something happen is what's so important to not only Kyle Shanahan, but whatever quarterback is under center. So with TDP, last year he was a little hesitant, and he just was a guy who would dance around a little bit and not hit the holes. I feel like he's kind of figured that out. And once you see the keys, it's all kind of there for you. As good as Elijah Mitchell was in rookie year, and remember, he set the rookie record for rushing yards. How many times did he said, there's still some meat on the bone, pause, about like where we can go with this running game where you're missing holes. So not everybody just picks it up immediately. Not everybody just goes immediately. So TDP has a chance to reverse the third round running back narrative. And again, all the good talk is great. That's what you want to hear. You don't want to hear negative talk, but it doesn't mean that he's like completely changed. I think we still need to see it a little bit more. Like, for instance, Jordan Mason last year, when he played against the Minnesota Vikings and he played and he was given any opportunity, immediately the man hooped. It's, again, a little bit of process, a little bit of results, but in the case of TDP, he's got to kind of cash in now on all the good talk that he's had.
Yeah, and you mentioned Anthony Lynn there just a little bit. I mean, you've mentioned it before, and it's something we talked about, just how much he mentioned TDP and Jordan Mason over the offseason back in May. So I'm excited to see what those two offer. And then really just kind of the evergreen.
Josh Johnson's a Raven.
I believe he's on the Ravens.
He's a Raven. Yeah, he's a Raven again. He's the third string behind Tyler Huntley. I watched him last night as well too, guys.
Perfect. Last position, and this is going to be the evergreen position to watch, is both the offensive and defensive line. There's only so much you can learn from these practices. It's not game situations. I'm excited to finally see what it looks like. I don't know if Colton McKivitz is getting much run today. I don't know if he falls into the starter not getting much rep, or if he's going to be a player getting a lot. I'm going to guess he's going to get a decent amount of reps.
Do you want to discuss? Because I feel like if anybody needs to show something, it's him.
My guess is he's going to be one of the few starters who's going to get a good amount of reps. Jalen Moore, another name to watch, is Leroy Watson. He was a converted tight end to offensive line. We're going to see a lot of these guys in the defensive line. Obviously, Cleveland Farrell, really the big name to watch today. So really, those are the positions I'm watching. Jason, do you have thoughts on the line before I start just listing players I'm excited to watch?
Well, really, honestly, there's only one spot on each line that is – I don't even want to say like a question mark, but just something that we haven't seen yet. Yeah. So it's Cole McKivitz and Drake Jackson at this point. Like, that's it. Everything else is pretty much set in stone. Do you understand, like, how many other teams wish that they had that problem where it was just like maybe one? Remember going into last year, we had 3 new, and they were all interior, 3 new offensive linemen, and we're all freaking out.
Yep.
Now it's like you're hearing all these good things about Drake Jackson. Drake Jackson's the only one, and I'm sure that he's going to be in advantageous spots when you've got Armstead, Hargrave, and Bosa all occupying so much attention, and Drake Jackson gets to operate one-on-one most likely, and he's going to be in advantageous situations. But the Colton McKivitz thing is like, I feel much better about this line going into this season, even if Colton McKivitz is, let's say, a quote-unquote question mark, just because we haven't seen it. So for me, I really don't have too many worries about that. But if you're Kyle Shanahan, and I'm not, but it seems like he's going to.
Sometimes you sound like him.
A little bit. It seems like he doesn't really care about what we think about reps. So it wouldn't shock me if Colton McKivitz never got out there one way to the other. But I do want to make this point. There is everybody loves to talk about backups. Who's your backup, right? At certain positions. Who's the backup? The biggest drop-off of backups in football of any position, and it's not quarterback, it's not running back, it's not wide receiver, it's not tight end, it's not safety, it's not corner, it's not defensive line, it is offensive line. Offensive line is the biggest drop-off from starter to backup in the game, period. The reason that you're a backup is because you shouldn't be starting. If you are pushed into duty for a few snaps, cool. But the biggest issue and the biggest drop-off of any position in football, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, by the way, I didn't mean to see period in my humble opinion, is offensive line.
Yeah.
Is offensive line. Nobody wants to see an offensive lineman leave the field because if your backup is better than your starter, then you're one of the teams in the history of the NFL that's ever had that happen. So, yeah, I don't understand.
And I mean, you mentioned that too, and the Niners were very lucky the past few years to have Daniel Brunskill. And now the Niners, Kyle Shanahan's not going to have to fall back on that, right?
Yep.
You can't have a situation where he's
that's the one that hurt
snaps.
me the most, is because Daniel Brunskill was like your security blanket of
he's
like
unique.
of just being solid. Like no one ever believed that Daniel Brunskill was anything more than he was, but you also downplay what Daniel Brunskill did, because if you needed a center, you needed a guard, you needed a tackle, he was somebody who can literally be the utility lineman. Yeah, agreed. 100%.
Yeah, and I don't like to talk about the depth of the offensive line because ideally you only see 5 offensive linemen in an entire season, and that's it. A lot of positions, I think other than quarterback, I mean, offensive line and quarterback are the 2 positions that you never see rotation barring injury. So we'll see. I'm hoping Feliciano's the next Bronny. Yes, absolutely. That's a great 100%. Point. Shout out, John.
That is a great point.
Thank you for the Draymond Greenlaw Photoshop, by the way, John. We appreciate that.
So good, John. So the other thing is that's the 49ers realizing the importance of Brunskill by bringing in Feliciano, right? Like they understand what that was. I think that they didn't think that he was going to be poached, but the Titans poached him because of Rand Carthan, and he understood that. So, yeah, I do think that they absolutely 100% understand the value that Brunskill brought to this team. So that's why they brought in Feliciano. So, again, forward-minding thinking front office, as much as you want to get on them about things, there's still those little things on this roster that's still it's not the sexiest move. Nobody was going out and buying Brunskill jerseys. But my God, man, when he was called on, he helped as best he could, and he played to the best of his ability. I don't think you can ask anything more of a backup or a guy who used to come from the USFL.
Perfect. Jason,
name him.
That's all I got for position battles. Real quick before we just start naming names. 132 people watching. That's the highest number we had in a while because football is back, baby.
Back, baby.
That's just as much as people want to watch.
If you're new here,
speculate everything. We're here talking football. But yes, if you're new here, great time to click that subscribe button. Jason Aponte, fantastic YouTube channel, hosts the Sprint Right Option podcast. You also have Face the Franchise, Bully Ball, etc., etc. Great content coming here. Specifically, the Sprint Right Option podcast. You can get that wherever you get your podcasts. At this episode specifically, probably not going to be an audio download episode because it has a clean, fresh, or a runtime of about an hour. This episode is going to be a little irrelevant in an hour. We'll be talking post game. That'll be the game that probably goes live on the audio stream.
And I think it's egregious
Jason Elliott or Jordan Elliott. Jason, thoughts on Mo Salah, not Robert Salah, being subbed off today?
It's egregious. It's a travesty. It's a sham. It's a mockery. It's a Travis sham mockery. If I could put it all together in one way. Yeah. I mean, those are my deep thoughts. I've been thinking about this all day long. I woke up this morning focused on the footy, and I have put a lot of thought into it. 100%.
My Wolverhampton Wanderers start their season tomorrow. Old Trafford against Manchester United at noon, so I'm very excited. Eric says, and Brunskill was Aaron Donald's daddy. Yeah, I mean, that's just a fact. We miss him for that. So Jason, this is the list I got for the 49ers. Jordan Elliott, brilliant. Couldn't have said it better myself. The best Premier League analysis here on the Sprint Red Option podcast. Jason, this is a numerical order. I just went down the Niners roster. Number 0, Samuel Womack. I think that, and stop me if there's any name that you're interested in and want to expand on. Stop me, talk about it. Samuel Womack, I think we know his story. It feels like he's kind of on the outside looking in, but he should get a lot of. In terms of a starting spot, Samuel Womack's going to be on this 53-man roster, but in terms of a starting spot, outside looking in. So I'm curious to see. The reason I specified Jason Aponte, the number order, is this next jersey number 4. Oh. We finally get to see game reps from Jake Moody. We're hearing 63-yard field goals. We're hearing these 53-yard field goals clearing the goalpost by 10 yards. I'm very excited to see what Jake
Can
Moody
I ask you a question, Andrew Pasquini?
Yes, absolutely.
Why do you hate Zane Gonzalez?
I don't. It's just if it's obvious at this point that Brock Purdy is quarterback 1, I don't know how more obvious it can be that Jake Moody's K1.
So why is he there?
I don't know. That's a fantastic question. The Niners beat writers need to ask these hard-hitting questions. I'm joking. Why is nobody asking?
Is that what say? Is that how you interpret? Is that how you interpret their tweets? Is that how you hear them in your voice?
Why isn't anybody asking where Zane Gonzalez is still? No, listen.
Hold on. Go ahead. No, you go. Go.
Okay. No, I just have a hard time believing that the Niners used the 99th overall pick on a kicker who isn't going to be the kicker, if that makes sense.
Can I give you my funny take that people are just going to think is completely serious? Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, there's a guy that wears number 10. There's a guy that wears number 10. There was a guy that was drafted. That guy's got to sit for a year. That guy has to sit for a year. He has to learn behind the best. He has to learn a little bit. He's not ready to play right away. You do not throw him into the fire right away as the kicker, I don't think. And I think for me, I think you need to sit behind 10 and watch him for 1 year. And then next year, you will be handed the keys to this.
I need to find a Nick Mullins Niner jersey. If somebody has an extra one laying around, just send it to me, because Jason has his Garoppolo jersey that has 10 that has Gonzalez over it. And Mullins and Moody also start with M. So I can have the Mullins with Moody over the top, and we can just rep both the kickers. Yeah, no, listen, I think if you take the quotes from there, it is the Gonzalez jersey. Actually, I have an important question that this will be for at the end of the episode. So not worth it right now. I think Zane Gonzalez is still here because if you take the questions of 49ers, the 49ers said like, oh, we took Moody at 99 because we weren't sure he was there. Zane Gonzalez would be your kicker if Jake Moody was taken 98. Like I guess that, but why he's still here, I don't know. That's nothing against Zane Gonzalez. I'm just a firm believer of like, you have a kicker. What are we doing?
Well, I will say this. The 49ers are probably holding on to Zane to probably move him for like a 5th or a 6th rounder. Look, Tristan Vizcaino, 49ers legend, he got let go by Dallas. The only other way that I see this working is if Robbie Gould becomes a Cowboy. And I don't want to talk about what could possibly happen in Week 5 when he faces.
Oh, we've already talked about it, Jason.
No,
we've already talked about it.
But yeah, I do think it's a little bit of an idea to just kind of hold on to him at this point. And if not, whatever, you just cut him. He's just a kicker at this point. Obviously, I'm making a joke, but yeah, Jake Moody better be that guy. And that's the thing is like I want to see him kick a little bit, But why are we talking about kickers? Got rust.
Great question.
Got rust. Anyone in the comments answer him because I don't want to go off anymore. Everybody's like, "Oh, I know this is just stick and how much you hate kickers."
Well, we're talking kickers because I'm listing players Andrew
He's right.
Pasquini is excited
He's
to
right.
watch.
No, he's
and
right.
I'm a sicko and I like
He's
watching
right.
my kickers.
He's right.
So I apologize, guys.
He's right.
We'll change the topic. We talked about
He might be new here though. He might be new here. So let's
Hey, shout out, Got Russ. If you're new here, subscribe.
Jason loves kickers.
Commenting.
Obviously, that's sarcasm.
Yes.
Seriously, I'm just trying to get off of the whole like hating the idea of drafting a kicker. Like I promise you, but it's just all
time clip. Jason leaving video camera.
Oh yeah, that was the worst.
Couple players we've already talked about: Danny Gray, Chris Conley. Excited to see what they offer.
Yes.
Hey, how about Tig, Jair Brown?
Oh yeah,
a lot of excitement coming into this camp. Hasn't made much noise in terms of camp production, but we've already talked about it. I'm not too concerned about any of the camp stuff, at least in terms of that. So first game action, we're going to see him. I know Jason's a big Jair Brown guy. We talked a little bit Tyrion Davis-Price, already mentioned him. I didn't write him down, but also Jordan Mason. Deshaun Jameson, I have him listed as number 49, but I believe he's 22 now. So a little out of my numerical order. Deshaun Jameson is going to be interesting just because of the return.
Y'all are so terrible in the comments about the kickers. And then John says the first Kim K gif of her coming around the thing. Yo, do you understand that my life is going to be every time Jake Moody makes a kick that everybody is going to at me on Twitter as if I want him to miss kicks? I don't want him to miss kicks. I never want the kickers to miss kicks. I don't want my team to draft a kicker at 99. I don't. I want all my kickers to make all the kicks. What the hell? It was just bad. Didn't we just have a long discussion about process and results? Process, poor. Results, maybe. But I'm a big results over process guy. Apologize to Moody. Yo, this is the year I quit. I quit everything at this point.
Hey, just wait. Just listen. I may have been a little high yesterday and had a bold prediction take. I was walking around. I was like, man, I think we need to do a season preview episode. Obviously, we're going to do that with bold predictions. And just to get you to pop, I don't think I'd ever seriously commit to this, but Jake Moody, Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Absolutely not.
Let's just start it. All the other offensive players just don't have a good year. Jake Moody goes like 41 for 41 on kicks, a long of 65. Jake Moody, offensive rookie of the year. Acknowledge your tribal chief, Jake Moody. We're still talking about Jake Moody, by the way. I tried to get off.
Sorry,
but we're back on
and to got Russ. Yeah. This is a long running joke with us.
Yes, if you have. You honestly have to go back and watch every episode of the Sprint Right Option cinematic universe. It's like the Marvel cinematic universe. It's the end of credit scenes that like you need to make sure you watch them. If you missed all the ones, you're kind of lost on the current ones. So back to the names. Taco Charlton. Listen, I live in a world where the Niners have Taco Charlton. I'm happy. I'm excited to watch it. And it sounds like he might sneak in. He might sneak into this 53-man roster. So I'm there for that.
He has no odds, unfortunately, Matt. He has no odds on offensive.
I don't think
it sounds like it sounds like Vegas understands that a kicker is going to have a hard time beating out Bijan Robinson.
I told you guys I was on high when I had the thoughts.
All right. So look, he saw the reaction when
exactly. There we go. So there we go. Got Russ. We appreciate you going finding that. Cam Latu. Let's talk about it. The drops are an issue. I know the joke is to be had, Jason Aponte, that Kyle Shanahan likes his receivers to drop balls because that's just a lot of what they are, respectfully. Brandon Ayuk has some issues. Deebo Samuel. I think Jawan Jennings was second in drop percentage last year. George Kittle has some drop issues here and there. But if Grant Cohn's tracking the one interception a day from Brock Purdy, it's almost the same thing with the camp. Yeah, we love Grant. Absolutely.
He's been crushing it, man.
This is peak Grant Cohn right now.
No, Grant right now is there's a bag, but he's not in the bag. He's like in the duffel. Like he's all
the way. No,
he's so in the bag right now, bro. Like he's just oh my gosh. Shout out to my guy Grant.
While everybody else is warming up during camps, getting ready, Grant is already in the season form. This is his time.
He's cooking.
But Cam Latu seems to have his daily drop.
Yeah.
And it always seems to be in the back of the end zone, more or less. So let's see. He's been talking about how it's been I don't want to use this word overwhelming, but a lot going on. He's a rookie first year, so let's see if he can settle down. Game action, just kind of reaction. We talked Willie Snead, Kalia Davis, 5th round pick last year. I don't know how much he's going to play. I'm assuming he's playing today. Kind of got that red shirt treatment last year, so we'll see if how much he gets playing time today. Cleveland Farrell. And then the big one, the last jersey number on the list, and the number that I'm most excited to talk about, that jersey number 99, Javon Kinlaw. And this is probably the player I'm most excited to watch. It's nice that it works out that he's last. The injuries have been a thing. Obviously, he's had issues, but from what everybody says and what he's been saying too, not just what people have been saying around him, but he's been saying too that this is the healthiest he's felt. It sounds like he's dominating camp right now, so let's see how it works. If the Niners can get a healthy 3rd defensive tackle, Javon Kinlaw, only good things can come for this defensive line.
I just think that we need to strip our expectations now from Javon Kinlaw. Like it's done, okay? He's not going to be the guy who lives up to the draft capital that was invested in him. And that's okay. And he may not be a 49er next year. That's okay. But when he has a role that is valuable, and we've watched DJ Jones flourish from, Kevin Gibbons, who's on the team, flourish from, at this point, forget where he was drafted. Hope for 17 games and hope for him to get on the field. And that's it. Like, if you get something, if you get a rotational guy, if you get a guy who, while you're giving Hargrave a breather, you're giving Gibbons a breather, can occupy blocks and possibly add to the pass rush and be a dog in the run defense, man. I don't think that there's many teams that have someone that they invested that high in to have somebody just say, hey, listen, he's going to be a rotational guy for us. I think that's you can slice it and say you missed on the pick. You can absolutely nitpick it in that way. Or you can look at it and say this team has incredible depth, and how many guys, that were taken this early are guys that you're just asking a little from. Like, so yeah, you would love to see it with Kinlaw. Obviously, Tig, I want to see him again. I talked about it earlier. I think that he's been holding up in practice. He doesn't want to get around and hit at this point yet. I'm looking to see him play a little bit faster. I want to see him get on the field as much as he can and play. I'm really excited about him. Sammy Womack's a very good one as well, too, because the Isaiah Oliver thing feels like it's a foregone conclusion, especially when you hear how Steve Wilkes spoke about signing the best nickel corner. I do think that that's something that's really good as well, too. But I am interested to see this defensive line. Kalia Davis is somebody who everybody's excited about. Maybe we'll see some Alfredo Gutierrez, which is an awesome story, man. Anytime that he gets on the field, that's really cool as well, too, to see him play. But it's just, for me, it just feels like everything about this team is set. Right now, what we're trying to view is things that teams would die to have in terms of what they're worried about. The 49ers have starters at every single position, basically. Everyone. And they've only got 2 guys that are basically filling in, maybe 3 if you count the third linebacker. 3 guys that are coming in brand new. How many teams can have this sort of continuity? How many teams can say that, while we're excited to watch football, the casual fan's going to look at us and say, well, why are you worried about the 5th and 6th receiver? Why are you worried about the back? This is where this team is. And this is why you should always, no matter what, I know everybody wants a Super Bowl. And obviously we do too. But that's why 31 teams get sent home with them. But there's only a certain amount of teams that are in the conversation. And your team every single year is in the conversation. Now, we can talk about why they haven't gotten over the hump. We can talk about why they don't get it done. But do you understand how hard it is to be a year in and year out this good, year in, year out, this type of team that everybody looks at that says, man, if that team ever got a quarterback, look out for everybody. Like, look out for everyone. And what I mean by quarterback is because, Brock Purdy's a guy, but it's all about, like, don't let them get a Josh Allen or a Joe Burrow or a Patrick Mahomes, like that type of thing. That's how loaded you are. But that's the beauty of us watching the preseason game. Not overreacting to anything too crazy, but knowing that really what we're looking at is just depth going forward, the future, but everything else is pretty much set. And I think that's really, really what's important. And I think 49er fans should keep in their mind when you're watching these games.
Emiliano, name I might have missed, Isaiah Oliver. I didn't throw him out there because it sounds like he's the starting slot corner.
It does.
He's there, and Steve Wilkes even had
him, dude.
Even Steve Wilkes had a quote that was, we identified the best nickel cornerback in this free agency class, and we went out and got him. So yeah, Isaiah Oliver, I don't know how much playtime he's going to get, considering he seems like he's a starter. So I'm not too worried. Suspiciously specific. I don't have bowl predictions yet, but that's only because we're going to do a preview show later.
I do.
Save it for the prediction show later this offseason, Jason. We could. Okay. Save those. We could save those. We'll get suspiciously specific. We appreciate it. My bold prediction is maybe like a gram. No, that's a joke.
Huge. First it was Bowell, and then someone said huge Bowell. Yeah, I love the comments, man. This is how you know we're all the way back. I can't believe we did an hour. I can't believe it.
Yeah, Jason, and the least important thing, but it is preseason. It is training camp. We got to get our reps in. Give me a prediction. We're predicting a preseason game, not because anybody was going to hold us right, but we got to warm up. We got to get numbers. We got to get predictions. We got to throw them out there. We got to be in midseason form by week 1. So give me your prediction for today's game.
Niners money line. And if you want to throw that in on your parlay, by the way, Niners money line against the Raiders. The Baltimore Ravens won their 24th consecutive preseason game. If you are looking for the easiest bet in football, and by the way, you'll probably bet the Ravens this week and they're going to lose for the first time in so long. Yeah. But anybody who's been betting Ravens money line in the preseason has been very much rewarded. But my prediction is I hope that both teams have fun and they both walk away healthy. I lost Ravens on the spread. John, what are you doing, dude? Why would you bet the spread in any NFL preseason? You know what? I feel better. Now, I feel way better about it. Way better about it. I bet on the Hall of Fame game. Jets are up 13-0. I had Jets money line. I'm like, ha. Yeah, thanks a lot, DTR. That ran down the tubes pretty quickly. No, but the prediction is I think Trey Lance shows you incremental progression. The 49ers walk out of this game relatively unscathed. I'm sure there'll be a nicked up, injury here or there. But since the starters aren't playing, we don't really have to worry about too much when it comes to that. And I think Jake Moody makes all his kicks today.
Perfect. My prediction, Niners win. Pound that over. It's a 36. Just give me an exciting. I just want an exciting preseason game, man. If it's like 10-6 in the fourth quarter, I'm just gonna be questioning a lot of my life's decisions, to be honest, because I'll be sitting there like, oh man, this is so smash the over, hope for an over in the preseason. Jason, that's it. But I got good news. Everybody.
Tell them.
Not it for the day. We will be back later today. 10-ish minutes after kickoff or after the game ends, because I might have to go to the bathroom. People might have to go take a shot. I don't know what you're doing after the game. We'll give you guys 10 minutes to come back, hang out. We'll give you all of our thoughts. If you're still looking for some 49ers content right now, the SF Niners, our friend Brad Graham just went live about 15 minutes ago.
So
there's a lot. There's a lot of content going on right now. And if you tell them that Jason and Andrew at Sprint Red Option Podcast sent you in the comments, it's going to be 100% free to watch on YouTube.com.
No. What you guys need to do is when you get out of here is bomb those comments and say, Jason, Brad Raid, Jason and Andrew sent us.
Yeah,
go.
Let them know. So Jason Aponte will be back 10 minutes after the Niners win their first preseason game. We'll be talking Super Bowl. Jason Aponte, as always.
Niners start the season in Vegas. Niners end the season in Vegas. Let's go fucking Niners.
Let's go Niners. We're back, baby.
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners.